The old man walked into the diner every morning at exactly 7:10 a.m., never a minute early, never a minute late. His steps were slow, careful, the kind that made people wonder whether he might fall. But what truly caught everyone's attention wasn't how fragile he looked. It was the day he didn't come in, and instead, 4 large bodyguards and 2 lawyers walked through the diner doors asking for the waitress who always served him. And that's when everything in her life changed. Before we get into this incredible true-to-life story about kindness and the unexpected ways it comes back to us, make sure you subscribe to Echoes of Dad, like this video, and leave a comment about a moment when someone's kindness changed your day. Your stories inspire us and help this community grow. Her name was Mandy, a 28-year-old waitress who worked the early shift at a small roadside diner in Virginia. It wasn't a fancy place, not even close. The vinyl seats squeaked, the coffee machine rattled louder than a lawnmower, and the windows fogged up every winter morning. But it was warm, and for folks who came regularly, it felt like home. Mandy had been working there for years, ever since she dropped out of community college to care for her mother. Money was always tight, but she tried to stay positive. She believed that even small acts of kindness could make someone's day easier. That's why she noticed the old man the very first morning he walked in. His clothes were clean but worn. His hair was white and thin. His hands trembled when he reached for the menu, though he never actually opened it. And he always sat in the same booth, far corner, by the window. The first time she walked up to him, he didn't even look up as he said, "Just coffee, please." Black. She served it with a smile. "Anything else?" "No, thank you. This is enough." He stayed for maybe 20 minutes, then left 3 crumpled singles under the cup. No tip. No goodbye. But something about him tugged at her heart. Maybe it was how lonely he looked. Maybe it was the way he stared out the window, like he was hoping someone would walk in, but they never did. The next morning, he came again. Same time. Same booth. Same order. This time, Mandy brought him a small bowl of oatmeal, on the house. The old man blinked at it. "I didn't order this." "I know," she said gently. "But it's cold outside. You look like you could use something warm." He stared at her for a long moment, as if trying to understand her intention. Then he nodded once. "Thank you." He ate slowly, every spoonful steadying his shaking hands. When he left, he placed the same $3 on the table, but this time there was a 4th bill tucked underneath, $1. A tiny tip, but a meaningful one. And that was the start of their routine. Every morning, the old man, whose name she later learned was Henry, came in for his coffee. And every morning, Mandy brought him something small on the house, a muffin, a slice of toast, half an egg sandwich. Nothing big, but something warm. Something kind. They didn't talk much at first, but over the weeks, he opened up little by little. He told her he was a widower. That his wife had passed 5 years ago, and he'd never quite learned how to live without her. He didn't have children. No siblings. Most of his friends were gone. Some days, he admitted softly, "You're the only person who talks to me." That sentence broke her heart a little. So she made it her mission. No matter how busy the diner was, no matter how stressed she felt, she always made time to sit with him for a minute or two. She refilled his coffee before he asked. She smiled at him every morning like seeing him was the highlight of her day. Because truthfully, it often was. Months went by. Seasons changed. Snow fell. Flowers bloomed. Tourists stopped by the diner in the summer, but Henry remained her most consistent customer. But then, one Monday morning, he didn't show up. Mandy checked the time repeatedly. 7:10, 7:20. 8 o'clock. Still no sign of him. She tried to tell herself maybe he overslept, maybe he wasn't feeling well, maybe the weather kept him inside. But she couldn't shake the uneasiness pooling in her stomach. On the second day of his absence, she asked the other staff if they'd ever seen him outside of the diner. No one had. On the third day, she considered calling hospitals, but she didn't even know his last name. By the 4th day, she feared the worst. And then, on the 5th day, the diner door swung open at exactly 7:10 a.m., but it wasn't Henry. It was 4 large bodyguards in black suits, followed by 2 sharply dressed lawyers holding thick folders. Everyone in the diner froze. This was not the type of place where men in suits showed up, let alone with security. The taller lawyer looked around. "We're looking for a waitress named Mandy." Her stomach tightened. She stepped forward slowly. I'm Mandy." The lawyer softened his voice. "Ma'am, we represent Mr. Henry Gordon." She gasped. "Henry? Is he okay?" The lawyer nodded. "He passed away peacefully last week." She felt her knees weaken. It was like someone had punched the air out of her lungs. Tears filled her eyes instantly. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "He spoke very fondly of you," the lawyer said gently. "In fact, he left something for you. Several things, actually." Before she could even process that sentence, the other lawyer opened a folder and revealed an envelope with her name on it, handwritten in shaky cursive she recognized instantly. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a short letter. "Dear Mandy, you were the warmth in my final winters. Your kindness restored my faith in people. Thank you for treating me like I mattered. Love, Henry." Tears streamed down her cheeks. She pressed the letter to her chest as if it were a fragile treasure. But the lawyer wasn't finished. "Mr. Gordon instructed us to bring you to his home and show you something." He paused. "If you're willing." Still crying, she nodded. During her break, she rode in the lawyer's car, escorted by the bodyguards, completely confused about what was happening. She expected a modest apartment. Maybe a small home. Nothing prepared her for what she saw. The car turned into a gated driveway leading to a massive property, acres of rolling green hills, a large colonial-style mansion, and a lake shimmering behind it. It looked like something out of a movie. "This can't be right," she murmured. The lawyer smiled. Henry was a very wealthy man. He simply didn't live like one. They walked her inside. The home was filled with antique furniture, elegant art, and framed photographs of Henry and his late wife from decades past. The air felt heavy with history and love. The lawyer handed her another document. "Mr. Gordon left specific instructions in his will. Because of your kindness, he wanted to leave you something meaningful." Mandy shook her head. "I didn't do anything special." "You did more than enough." They guided her to a sunlit room, the library. It overlooked the lake through huge glass windows. Inside, shelves of books ran from floor to ceiling. But that wasn't the shocking part. On the desk was a set of keys and an envelope labeled, "For Mandy, open last." The lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Gordon left this house to his niece. He left most of his estate to charitable foundations. But this. He gestured around the room. "This entire library, he left to you." Mandy gasped. "What? Why?" I don't even." "He said you once mentioned you loved reading but couldn't afford to go back to school. He wanted you to have a place where you could study, learn, and dream again. He wanted you to feel at home here whenever you needed peace." Her hand flew to her mouth as tears flooded her eyes again. The second envelope, the one marked open last, contained a check. A check with more zeros than she had ever seen in her life. Enough to go back to school. Enough to care for her mom. Enough to change everything. Her legs went weak. She sat down heavily, clutching the letter and the check. The lawyer placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Your kindness meant the world to him. In his final months, he said that you were the closest thing he had to family." Mandy cried openly now, grief, gratitude, disbelief all mixing together. She whispered, "I only wanted him to feel less alone." "And that," the lawyer replied softly, "was exactly why he wanted to help you." Mandy returned to work, but her world had shifted. She used the money to finish her education. She spent many afternoons in Henry's library, reading by the window where sunlight poured in. She hung his letter on the wall above the desk. She never stopped being a waitress, not completely, she loved the people. But she worked fewer hours and eventually became a social worker, helping lonely seniors find connection and companionship. Every morning, before she began her day, she made herself a cup of black coffee, just the way Henry liked it. And she always whispered, "Thank you." Kindness is rarely loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask for recognition. Most of the time,